Military equipment. Military equipment is different from a lot of civilian equipment because it has to meet design criteria, and most civilian equipment, of course, is designed as well. But in the civilian market, when you're going to design a piece of gear, what people will do is, this is how chairs and anything else get built. The first thing they do is they decide if they think there's a market, and then they go out and they figure out how much the market is willing to pay for that item. Then they build some prototypes and they test them out and see if they can sell that item for that price. So in a sense, the market is consumer driven, but it's driven more by price than anything else, by price range. And that's okay, that's fine, that works good for the civilian market. Unfortunately, it also means there's a lot of subterfuge in the gear because you'll buy something and it'll look like it's going to do the job, but when you get it home, you find out there are some deficiencies. Strapping is coming loose, you're going to have problems with sewing and stitching, etc. Military gear goes through a completely different design process. The military determines, first of all, what they need. Let's take the lensatic compass, for instance. And they say we need a compass so that we can land navigate. From there, they come up with a list of specifications, and a design committee sits down and goes through this very carefully to make sure they didn't miss any of the main things it needs to do. Then they will actually add some things that they would like for the piece of equipment to do. The design committee will then figure out what the cost range is going to be by getting bids from contractors. And I'm giving kind of an overview of how the whole thing works and leaving out a lot of hyperbole, but at the end of the day, it's being picked for how it's going to be used, and they're trying to pick a good price for a good piece of equipment. That being said, they're not going to go out and get something that's going to break in your hand when you go to the field, because they know they'll just be replacing that. So they try not to be penny wise and pound foolish, but many times they'll leave off a lot of the frills that you could get with civilian equipment. That being said, if you do find a piece of military gear that meets all of the criteria that you need, in this case for me, this military lensatic compass, it's not only a great land navigation device for day, but at night, because it has tritium, which is a radioactive material that will always glow in the dark. And I like it for that purpose. It's a bit heavy, and I've had Silvas and everything else. I like this because it's durable as well, and it's waterproof. It's nice. Military equipment all has to go through, it has to meet and also has to line up with military doctrine. All right? It has to fit our doctrine and our training. So we are trained in using not only the equipment, but it also has to fit in with a sort of a system. And the system tends to line up very well in many cases with what we're going to be going through survival, for instance, and preparation. So the equipment is therefore, I think, a good buy on that feature alone. However, there's another great feature about it. Let's say you're looking for a ballistic helmet. Now this helmet is awesome. It's the latest, it's ACH. There's other versions, I know, special operations, but this is what's in issue right now. This got issued to me recently. Very comfortable helmet, okay? But let's say I want a ballistic helmet and I can't afford to go out and buy one of these for whatever they're selling at the moment. I can go back one generation and get a ballistic helmet that's not going to be as comfortable, the old Fritz helmet, but it's still available, and they're surplus now because we're not using them anymore. We're giving them away to third world countries that we are training and supporting, like the Iraqi and the Afghan National Army. Therefore, you can have a lot of this equipment at a very reasonable price. It's all designed for more than one purpose in many cases, and Joe out in the field will figure out even more. And that's where I kind of come into play, because I've used all of this equipment, and I can attest to it that it has actual function, and it has actual use, and it's actually real. It's not fake. Sometimes civilian equipment, and I'm just peeling a piece out for example, this is nothing wrong with this yet. It's designed more for the way it looks, and maybe it'll meet a few criteria that we have, but it definitely wouldn't make the grade on military. For instance, the zipper is a little bit light, and I'm not downing it, I'm just saying it was a little bit less expensive. If the military made something like this, it would be a lot cheaper if I bought a surplus one, obviously. Many surplus pieces of equipment are no longer being issued because of the pattern, the camouflage pattern. This is perfectly functional. It's a piece of Molly gear. It is an issue 1 quart canteen GP pouch. Now we've gotten away from that and we've actually gone over to the hydration system that you will see here. Just roll that camera up. On the back of my U.S. Marine Corps ILBE rucksack. So we're not really using the 1 quart canteens anymore, and now you have all of these 1 quart canteen pouches out there that you can get for like $3 or $4. That's one of the great things about the military equipment here. These gloves you see on the right, these are actually warmer than the new gloves. I've been issued 2 new generations of glove after these, and I got to keep these because these go against my skin, and so when they phase out these gloves and they give you new ones when you go down range, you get to keep these. So these are mine, and I didn't use them that much down range because it wasn't all that cold where we were, and they were too bulky anyway. Only if you were going to be out in the snow did you wear these. But these are really good gloves, and they're no longer in use, and you can get them fairly cheap. They've given us some newer gloves, and guess what? The newer gloves weren't very good, so those are going to be coming on the market when they finally get something that, because the soldiers are saying, hey, I got frostbite. If you get frostbite from issue gloves, and they start seeing that across the board, that piece of gear is going to disappear off the shelves pretty quick, at least during a war, because people are supporting the troops very heavily now for the first time in a long time in the past 10 years, and it's great. We really appreciate it. We're getting good equipment as a result, and we're getting sometimes the help that we need when we come back injured, and we thank you for that support. I do. It means a lot to me to know, even if it doesn't work out, and even if we suffer some losses, it's good to know at the end of the day that the civilians, that'd be you folks, stand behind us and you support us. Even if nothing really significant comes out of it, at least we know that we have support and we're not just serving people that are actually going to betray us and turn their back on us when the war is over. So thank you for your support. A slight digress from my main point. When a piece of gear does get phased out, for instance this Marine Corps ILBE, the Marine Corps decided, you know, this doesn't go well with our, they fielded this before, because the war was on, they fielded that before they had actually done complete testing, and in fact even started issuing the entire ILBE system. And they found that it doesn't work so well with other components. So this is being phased out, and these are now becoming available. And this is like a $500 rucksack, and you can get it for 150 bucks. So I got this for 150 bucks, and I got the assault pack part that comes on for 60, and I got this for like $2 or $3. So you can get the whole system for about half the price, and it's in great condition. It's almost new. It's hardly been used. Not even sweat stains on it. Okay, folks, this has been the Maineprepper, and I'm trying to give hopefully a concise explanation as to why the military gear. It's not just because it's green, and I think if it's green, it's automatically good to go. Now, I must conclude with this. Just because it's a GI spec or a USGI or a mill issue does not mean it has the seal of approval. In fact, some gear that was fielded was really bogus. It was really not very good. And that's because there's a bit of shenanigans in the contracting and purchasing in the past, and sometimes perhaps even in the future. There are some things, and I'm not going to name names, but there are some things that show up in the inventory that are quite substandard and yet quite expensive. And civilians have noted that too. $600 for toilet seats that were no different from the ones you can get at Lowe's. That sort of thing has also cropped up. So just because it's surplus or USGI doesn't necessarily mean it's good to go. I'm going to be reviewing a lot of military surplus gear that I have personally chosen, that I have bought, and that I use, and I'm going to show you why. Because it's multi-purpose, a great price, it's durable, and it's got some tactical colors, which when we're bugging out is important. We don't want to be running around all cammied up all the time, but at the same time, people don't really freak out when they see you with a military surplus rucksack on your back, unless you put camouflage face paint on and you're wearing ACUs at the same time. Then they start to wonder if you're a reenactor or if you're crazy. Folks, this has been the Maineprepper. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys will come back soon, and we'll have more of these gear reviews on military surplus equipment, with the understanding that I didn't pick it just because it's green. I picked it because I'm used to it, and it's a great price. Thank you. Bye.